Don't listen to them, Sandy.
Otherworldlyculture.com.
Not me.
Here.
I mean, you are too right.
Alive! It's alive!
Not the Sandy. Not
Crazy.
the
It's alive!
Starting the show.
Otherworldlyculture.com presents Dead On Movie Reviews.
Salutations and mutilations. You're listening to Otherworldly Culture presents Dead On Movie Reviews. Tonight, we will present horror movie reviews and lively debate here on Otherworldlyculture.com and on future select Tuesdays at 9 p.m. Eastern. You can join our live chat at that time by clicking on Live Shows link on Otherworldlyculture.com website. I'm your host, Tim Kretschmann, coming to you from the land of lakes and landfills, beautiful and smelly Muskego, Wisconsin. It's my honor to introduce the Faculty of Fear panel presenting tonight's lectures. We start with Tracey de Leon. She's been in over 11 films, including a film that can now be seen everywhere this year, Family Possessions. She is working on A Nun's Curse. She is a good friend of the show with numerous appearances here, and it's a thrill to have her on the show again with us tonight. Here's Tracey de Leon. Hello, Tracey.
What's up, Tim? Hey, Mike. What's up, Rich?
What's up?
Great to have you here. Next in here, we have The Meat is on his way, ladies and gentlemen. America's little sweetheart, the killer clown of getting down, that speedy freak that loves to speak and streak. He's smoking a stogie and eating a hoagie, stalking the small in the wild, and pulling down the burlesque with a quest. He is the only, he's the lonely, Rich Dalzatto. Rich! Usually we get a hello. I didn't get that. I feel like we're being shortchanged.
Didn't his internet go
No,
out?
he's screwing with us. This is what he does.
Good evening.
Thanks, Rich. In case anybody thought this was a professional program, that has been excused from your thoughts. Okay, and the last but not...
I was eating a Whopper.
All right, well, I'm glad you didn't talk with your mouth full. Last but not least, little Mikey Exler is back again today. He's the denizen of the dismal, the purveyor of the putrid, the lavish, laughing ghoul of the ghastly, the volatile, vomiting, oozing boil of controlled substance clowns. That exciting exclaimer of glorious gloom wrestling up from his stony tomb. He's the monster of the mad ghoul, the glad, and that sack of mumbling, moaning pus that barfs out baloney. He's our very own panel-purveying provocateur, Coach Michael Exler.
Thank you, Tim. It's good to be back on the season premiere.
Yeah, I mean, we were supposed to start. We were supposed to start a little while ago. And we had some problems. I had a personal issue with someone passing away. So the show that was supposed to be our season opener is actually happening next week. And this way, Mike, you get to be on the opener because you weren't going to be on that show. So that's pretty exciting. Mm-hmm. All right. It is. I'm telling you because you seem confused.
I'm very confused, but that's okay. Onward.
That's kind of the name of the show around here. Fantastic.
Hang on. Are you telling me Mike died? Is that what you were saying?
No,
all of that?
Mike did not die. Actually, you probably didn't notice because there isn't a big difference in his energy level had he passed away. But no. A close family member of mine passed away this past month, and she was old, so we all knew it was coming, but it still was a big one for us.
I'm sorry for your loss. I wish it would have
I'm
been
sorry
Mike.
for your loss.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks,
Sorry,
guys.
Tim.
I do appreciate it. But we are not here to talk about that. We are here to talk about horror movies. And I think we got a really interesting mix here tonight. So it's going to be a lot of fun. Let's start out with Tracey. Tracey, what have you been watching?
I've been watching Frailty, and it was pretty cool.
All right. Now, Frailty, I think, if I'm remembering correctly, isn't that the movie that Bill Paxton directed? It was like his first one,
Yes.
or his only one?
Yes,
Yeah.
he did direct it, but he starred in it, and he was actually one of the main characters, who is a father who is widowed, and he has 2 young sons, and it kind of goes from there, Tim.
Does he at any point say "Game over, man"?
Game over, man.
Yeah, does he say "Game over, man"?
Bill Paxton
Yeah.
in this film?
Yeah. I want him to say it in every film.
I don't believe he did say that. No.
Oh. Swing
No,
and
he
a
didn't,
miss.
though.
There for a minute. I'm like, wait, I gotta. Oh, nope, not in that one. Nope. No, I don't remember him saying it.
So I've always heard a lot about this movie, and a lot of people really enjoy it, but I don't know a whole lot about it. So I'm hoping you can
Okay.
get me up to
Are you
speed,
ready,
Tracy.
I'm gonna tell you, Tim.
Okay.
All right. So Bill Paxton character, like I said, he's the father of 2 young sons. And he is, like just a blue-collared worker who's just trying to take care of his kids. And then just one day he comes home and he says that God has spoken to him. And he lives in this rural Texas community. And one night he just comes home real quick and he shows up to his eldest son, who is Fenton. And he grabs both boys and brings them to the shed. But before I get into all that, I'm going to go back to the very beginning, where Matthew McConaughey character, who is Fenton as an adult, starts going into the FBI office headquarters and wants to put an end to the murderous rampage that had been going on many, many years before. And they had named that killer God's Hands Killer, right?
Okay.
So it starts to all unfold with flashback scenes to young Fenton, again, Matthew McConaughey, and his dad, Bill Paxton. And I believe the younger brother was Adam, but I don't remember the actor's name. Sorry.
Okay.
So as Matthew McConaughey is in the office explaining to the FBI agents, he's like, I had a happy childhood, but I think I know who the God's Hand Killer is. So he just starts going into detail, and then that's when the flashbacks start to happen. So the very first night, again, Bill Paxton comes home, and he grabs the boys, like God has spoken to him.
Okay.
And there's a woman in his trunk. So he drags this woman while these young boys who are supposed to, well, first off, they adore his father, their father, right? I mean, they can't believe what they're seeing because, again, this was a child who had a happy childhood, and then just something just happened. So anyway, he drags this woman into the shed, and he said God spoke to him and that he can see humans and demons, but the only way he can see them is if he can touch them. So he has to touch them in order to see them. So he touches the woman after, so long, and, she turns out to be a demon.
Wait a minute, this works? This is a way where he can just start touching a woman. This works?
Well, no, this is like, I guess 1950s, 1940s. It was,
I'm taking down notes. Okay, go on.
It's a different time.
a way different time. But yeah,
For me to see demons, I need to touch you. Okay.
That's what Bill Paxton said. And he got these 2 little boys to believe it. Well, Fenton didn't. He was skeptical.
All right.
So anyway.
Somebody should be. Go on.
He was the oldest. And the younger boy, again, he was, impressionable, adored his father. And the father had special tools. I don't know if you all watched this or not, but I know you didn't. You didn't. but he had a special axe and a lead pipe. Those were his two weapons of choice. So he tried to get the boys to do the dirty work with the axe with the female, his first victim. And again, he had to touch him. So he touched her and, he did this, freaking out thing when he touched her. And of course, she turned out to be a demon. So they had to kill her. And later on, through the flashbacks of him talking to the FBI and telling him the stories, different people were killed in different ways. But what was crazy was, as Fenton would rebel against his father would give him chores. And one of the chores was to dig a 10-foot by 10-foot deep hole. And what he did was he took the shed and he put it on top of the hole. And he built this torture thing, I guess you could say, or his murder place. So
wow,
that was pretty creepy. But I'm not even going to tell you the end, because in the end, I can't, there's no way.
Now,
but
was it a well-directed movie is my question. Sometimes these stars, these actors decide to take on directing, and it looks like they locked down the camera a la Kevin Smith, and that's all that goes on. Was it a good-looking movie?
A lot of good horror films deal with families, and a lot of those are very well known. I think Bill Paxton did a pretty good job. I wouldn't say he was up to par with, like, the other ones like The Conjuring and shit like that. Mm-hmm. But I think he did a great job. I really do. He picked great actors. I was totally convinced in the ending. I mean, I don't know. Oh. All I have to say is, like, Fenton seems to be sensitive and vulnerable, but ultimately he undercut, like, the entire FBI system, the law enforcement. I mean, it's just, I was just like, I like this. I like this ending. This ending is really good. So, but that's all I'm saying, because I don't want to spoil it.
Cool. Mikey, you've seen this, right?
I have. I think Tracy did a great job of talking about it without spoiling it. But no, I think the whole film's just entirely creepy. I think everybody does a great job of just keeping with the tone of the film, which is just kind of disturbing, especially when it's dealing with children and that kind of tone. But no, it's definitely worth a watch if you want to be creeped out. And the ending, I'm not going to spoil it, but it's my kind of ending. So
yeah, I forgot almost that shrine, the shrine, in the woods where God, the family dog, that bothered me.
Well, it's legitimately disturbing in a lot of places. I think the directing is really good. I think he had an eye behind the camera. I still think
his casting.
It's a shame he passed.
Yeah, the casting is ahead of its time, because
Powers Booth is in it.
Oh, Powers Booth is always fantastic. I'm a big Powers Booth fan.
He's good.
Where else was Powers Booth in, Tim? Come on, you know me. Well, you should know.
Okay, sudden death comes to mind immediately, but that's more of a guilty pleasure.
Come on.
But the best film Powers Booth was in was Jamestown, the Guyana tragedy. He played, they said Jamestown, Jonestown. He played Jim Jones. And he was so good. It was a, I want to say 1970s miniseries that was. But I have seen documentaries about Jonestown. I've seen other movies about Jonestown. Without a doubt, if you want to see the good Jonestown movie, you need to find the one with Powers Booth. It's by far, he is so good, and based on what I know from the documentaries, I think he's dead on.
Like this show.
Thank you for picking up on that. Now, we'll give Rich a moment to finish his Whopper. And Rich, have you seen Frailty?
No, I haven't, but now I feel like I have.
Actually, one of the things I was going to mention before we went down the Powers Booth thing is Matthew McConaughey, at the time this movie was made, this was before people figured out that he could actually act. This was in the all right, where he was just doing romantic comedies left, right, and Sunday. And this was kind of one of his first real meaty roles. I remember that was, a lot of people are like, why did he hire Matthew McConaughey in this, serious piece? And, now we know that he's been Oscar nominated, I think 3 or 4 times already.
Did I ever tell you that earlier this year, Matthew McConaughey was our keynote speaker for my work conference?
Oh, really?
Yeah. Unfortunately, it had to be virtual because of COVID.
Right.
Normally, I would have got the old shake hands and take a photo with him, but
yeah,
that would have been amazing.
Stupid COVID.
He's dude.
Yeah, it's interesting how people's view of him have changed over the years. Because I remember people thinking he was just this vapid guy that sat out on the beach and played bongos. That was kind of a picture of him for such a long time. And then, he started scoring Oscar nominations every other year. But this is on my list. I think right now, I thought I checked before the show, and as of when I checked earlier this week, Frailty was available for free on Amazon Prime. So people that want to catch this would be a good time to go and grab it.
I would grab it, Tim. It's a good ending. It really is. You'll like it.
Underrated
like
film.
A lot.
It really, I think it's highly underrated and doesn't get talked about enough.
Well,
I know.
I think it is time for Tracy to give us her grade on this one.
I'm ready.
Okay. What's your grade?
Are you gonna guess?
Yeah, I'm gonna guess A-.
No, Tim. It's an A.
It's an A. Okay.
Yep.
There, I'll just draw that. And since you have also seen it, Mike, what would you grade it?
I would grade it an A. I think it's solid through and through.
Yeah, you just said that because I had just taken it down, and you wanted me to hit the A button again. So
I did. I was gonna say B, but I'm like, no, I'm doing A.
An A out of Mike is not easy to get. So congratulations over there at Bill Paxton Central. He did pass way too early. He had a lot of great. He had a lot of great stuff still ahead of him. Wasn't he making a TV show based on? Judgment Day. What was the name of that show? It was based on a Denzel Washington movie.
Nutcourt?
No, Training Day. Training Day. They were making a TV series on it, and they were about to go into, I think, the second season, and he passed. Yeah.
You should have done like.
All right. We are going to go now.
Pullman and what are they talking about? Independence Day? Are they getting them mixed up?
I think so.
Is Sandy still with us? Sandy?
Yeah, she's with us, but she tells us that Bill Pullman and Bill Paxton are interchangeable. Frankly, I'd be willing to do that interchange right now.
I would
put Pullman in the box. All right.
Crafty.
There's my nasty thing to say. All right, let's go now to Rich, America's sweetheart, The Meat. Rich, what have you been watching?
I don't actually remember. What was the name of it?
The Voices?
Voices. Yes.
This ought to be a good one. Hold on, I need to flag the tape. This will be a great one. Okay. Do you need to know who was in the movie?
No, I know who's in the movie. So
okay.
I chose this movie because I totally forgot that we had the show this Tuesday and hadn't watched anything recently because football season's back and all I'm doing is watching football. So
who's your team, Rich?
Oh, the Pittsburgh Steelers, of course.
I've heard of them.
It's the only team. No.
They'll beat
So,
the pack this year.
So I turned on HBO Max and said, let's see what's in the horror there. And this showed up, and I'm like, I don't think I've ever heard of this. And it, of course, described it as a horror comedy. And we all know how much I hate comedy. So I thought this is a perfect movie for me to watch and review. So anyway, it came out in 2015, and I was surprised that actually two very big cast members, Ryan Reynolds and Anna Kendrick, I believe is her name.
Yeah, Anna Kendrick.
And when you think 2015, their stars, both of their stars were shining pretty bright when this movie came out.
Yeah.
And I kind of, for me at least, it was never on my radar. The story behind it basically is Ryan Reynolds' character is mentally ill. And we find out this pretty early in the movie. He's working in a factory warehouse for bathtubs. No idea why. If there was any symbolism there, it totally got past me. But anyway, so
They made them there?
yeah, they manufactured them and shipped them from the warehouse.
Were they clawfoot or just regular plastic surround?
Just regular modern ones. Nothing fancy.
Tracy.
So, we find out pretty early that he has this mental illness, but it's hidden from the rest of the world. He's just comes across as kind of a strange guy to a lot of people. But his coworkers seem to like him, and there are women in the office that like him because, well, it's Ryan Reynolds, and that's how it has to be.
Yeah.
But he has his eyes set on a young British lady in the accounting department that does not see him that way.
Gemma Atherton.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to go into too much detail, more kind of like bullet points, because it's not a very complicated story, and talking too much about interactions with the characters and stuff would give away, the series of events. But what was fun for me in the film was that when he's at home and he's kind of, his mental illness is on display, he hears his dog and his cat speaking to him. And they basically are like the old angel and the devil on the shoulder, telling him what he should do in this world.
Well, let me guess. Is the cat the evil one?
Of course, it was predictable.
Yeah. Okay.
So
cool.
When they first introduced this, and this is introduced early in the movie, that these two animals speak to him, I was kind of excited because I thought Ryan Reynolds and maybe some good writing, that this could be like some good laughs. But other than a chuckle here or there when the cat says something, it's really not. The animals talking to him never really delivers.
Okay.
Unfortunately, because I think that could have been good.
Yeah.
Almost like Ted and Mark Wahlberg level was what I was hoping for, but it didn't get there.
Yeah, it sounds like a good idea.
So the movie basically, just to kind of summarize what happens throughout, and again, it's kind of predictable. It's him pursuing the love interest. Some bad things happen. It's horror, so there's people that end up dead in his wake. He's not a violent person, but because of his mental illness and his social awkwardness, it leads to some accidents that lead to some deaths, and then him covering it up, and it just becomes a series of unfortunate events that eventually, of course, climaxes with how do they put an end to this guy and his reign of terror.
Okay.
So it was very I don't know. It was kind of a weak movie, honestly, especially with those two. I think actually the best thing to say would be if it didn't have Ryan Reynolds and Anna Kendrick, it probably would have been a better movie because I wouldn't have been expecting as much out of it.
Okay. Yeah.
Especially in 2015. If this was 1995 and if it was 1995, she would have been in grade school. But,
super weird.
Well, 2015, Ryan Reynolds was already pretty big by that time because he was well done with Van Wilder. He was done with Two Guys and a Girl in a Pizza Place. And I just recently watched The Proposal with Sandra Bullock, and that was 2009. So
Well, and he had done a Deadpool by then as well, I believe.
When was that crap movie, Green Lantern made?
I don't know, but I wish I would have watched that instead.
really?
Not
The
really.
movie was poop.
I was about to say, I don't know that I could say that about a whole lot of movies.
No, but it wasn't a bad movie, and if you like horror comedies, it's definitely one to watch just to, check another one off your list. I don't think you're gonna feel like you wasted your time, but it's not gonna be a movie that you go back to, in my opinion.
Well, it sounds
All right,
like we're
here's
getting into grading. Let's
An unpopular opinion. 1 second, I have a question for Rich.
okay.
I like Ryan Reynolds. I think he's great, funny. But I really think that he is much like Vince Vaughn, where he just shows up and he is Ryan Reynolds in everything he is. Is he that way in this film?
Actually, that's a great question, and when I actually cared about reviewing this a couple days ago and then realized I didn't, I thought about that. So thank you for bringing it up.
You're welcome.
He is not his normal over-the-top self, and I know what you're talking about. Whether it's the Deadpool role or other movies, he always kind of, it's the same guy, loud, obnoxious, but in a way that people like and love. And no, this is more down the middle, kind of more normal, everyday guy. There's little glimpses of, there's Ryan Reynolds. Now I see him again, but he shows more range than you normally see from Ryan Reynolds. Unfortunately, and I'd like to see him maybe try some other things, because this might not be a fair assessment. As he, after watching him show some range, it's kind of like, just stick to the Deadpool shtick.
It's funny. Like I said, I really like him, but if you watch Van Wilder and then watch everything after that, watch a Deadpool movie. It's just Van Wilder in different situations.
I think honestly his best that type of role, like where maybe he shows a little bit range and not great range, is Adventureland.
I have not seen that.
He's not over the top Ryan Reynolds in that movie.
I would say Amityville Horror was probably
that's right. Yeah,
the best for him, because you forget it was him.
Yeah.
Damn, it was the best for him. Did you see that raining scene? Oh my God.
Okay, yeah. But were any of you? Did you guys watch Two Guys, a Girl in a Pizza Place when that was on?
Yeah, I was a big fan. I even stuck around when they dropped the Pizza Place from the title.
Yeah, I did too. And Nathan Fillion was on there for the last season, I remember too.
Solid, funny show.
That show reminds me so much of Bosom Buddies, where in that show it was Tom Hanks and Peter Scolari were in it, and they were dressing up as women, and Tom Hanks actually bought up the rights to that TV show so that it would never be aired again. But I remember watching it and really think it was funny, and I always felt the same way with Ryan Reynolds. Like I discovered him early, because he played the same part on that show too. He was always just kind of a sarcastic guy. Now, we are getting a question from the chat room. What's up with the dance scene? I don't know if you've been seeing that on the screen.
That's end credits.
Okay.
And really, it kind of gives away the end because of where his character ends up at the end.
Okay.
So I'm not going to go into it, but it has nothing to do with the movie per se, except wrapping up this kind of just wraps up his future, I guess, going forward, if you will.
Okay. Well, let's get a grade on this bad boy.
All right. I would give it a C.
Right down the middle, a C.
Yeah, that's this movie, right down the middle.
Okay.
This movie ain't worth it, huh?
Well, those are the hardest to review. So good job, Rich.
Yes.
You can have a cookie.
I already had one actually while we were doing the show. Thanks.
Okay, well, now you deserve it.
It's
All
a generic.
right. We're moving on. We're done with you, Rich. Okay, here we go to Mike. Mike, what have you been watching?
So I decided to check out Malignant, which is a brand new movie that was in theaters and also streaming on HBO Max. It's a new one from James Wan, so I'm sure everybody that would possibly listen to the show know who that is. So I won't
All right.
take time with his resume, but I do find it interesting that he's doing the Aquaman films. So
I actually saw some connections there, but we'll go ahead, and I did catch this, so I will be running counterpoint on you, Mike. Let's hear your description of this movie without spoiling it. Good luck.
So it's challenging because I wanted to get the IMDb. I had it up. I'm sorry. Give me 1 second, because I love the their little synopsis of it.
Okay. Sometimes those IMDb synopsises read like a tagline.
Not very good.
It's like, Jaws, here's the synopsis. You'll never go into water again. Well, okay.
So this is Madison is paralyzed by shocking visions of grisly murders, and her torment worsens as she discovers that these waking dreams are in fact terrifying realities.
Dun dun dun.
Yep.
Oh wait, I got hold it. Got it in there.
So I will definitely say I want to start off. It's going to be really hard to talk about this movie without spoiling it.
I am so proud of you that you're trying. Go ahead.
So I want to first start off by saying, a lot of people aren't really paying attention to today's horror. I know a lot of older horror fans wouldn't even look upon James Wan or Lee Winnell or some of these new people, Eli Roth, but he's junk. But they are new. They're horror, and even Rob Zombie. He definitely, as we have joked on the show about Carpenterian style, James Wan has a style.
Oh yeah,
of how he shoots a film.
Yes,
and it is, to me, I don't know if it's just because I've watched a lot of movies, but if that movie, I could just see a frame of it, and you can almost tell that it's a James Wan film. If you like how The Conjuring is shot, you're going to love how this is shot. It's very dark, ominous. I think he does great work with shadows. I think that's a strong suit of his.
I think he's really good at suspense. He is good at taking a scene that should take 3 minutes and making it last 5, where you're not going, okay, come on, enough. He does a really good job of just ratcheting it up, and something's coming, and you can't stop it,
Yep.
And that's exactly what you want. I think he's getting a lot better over the years, to be honest.
Oh, he is. He's fleshing out, definitely. I mean, like Insidious, I thought it was the first good part of a movie, like half of a movie, and then it fell apart. But
right.
This movie, it seemed like he's definitely learning and growing. There's one shot that I definitely want to talk about, and there's no way this is a spoiler, but I always like to see them take chances on shots, on just not portraying it the same way, but the main character is running through this house, and it's almost like looking at her as a mouse in a maze. And when she goes upstairs, it just like comes up through the floorboards, and you're still looking from the ceiling point of view at her. Oh, okay. I just thought that was a really cool shot, just something different.
Yeah.
And just, I don't know, it's just not the same old. I don't know.
You had mentioned Aquaman, that, he also went out and he made Aquaman, which you would think, how did a horror director get Aquaman? And then, if you're me, you say, well, it's the only frickin' decent DC movie. I know you guys disagree with me on that, but However, you can really see an action director in this movie. And I think what Juan brings when he makes a movie, he makes it visceral. He takes something that could have been an entirely head-based movie. You know, this could have been people talking in a room. And he made sure there was action on that screen almost all the time. I think it's one of the best paced horror movies of this type I've seen in years. I mean, you're at the edge of your seat throughout the flick, in my opinion.
Yeah, I wrote that I didn't look at my phone once. Like, I had no interest in checking my phone at all. I'll just talk about the beginning a little bit.
Sure.
It starts off with like, boom,
a dark
here's a
and stormy
situation.
night.
Deal with that. Deal with that shit. And I'm like, what the fuck just happened? I don't really understand what I just saw or sort of saw. And it just goes from there. And
I think you can describe the first scene. That's not a spoiler.
What about when they're in the warehouse thing and it's behind like the see-through shower curtain?
No. I'm talking about the first scene. It looks like you're in Frankenstein's frickin' castle.
Oh.
And it's raining. And
that's right.
And it starts, you're in the middle of major mayhem. They drop you. It's a stormy night. You're put in a castle, it looks like. And you figure out pretty quick that it's some form of hospital. What type of hospital, you don't know. And people are being thrown around the room by, quote, something. Something has got out. And you're just seeing people getting mashed up. And then you're like, okay, now we'll run the credits. It's like, what the hell? What just happened? So you know right at the beginning, they're dealing with something that's very powerful. And I thought that was great because there is a little bit of a let's figure things out that happens for the next like 5-10 minutes. That opening scene really kind of gets you through that very minimal exposition that you have to get through.
No, I agree. They don't. There's no real Morris the Explainer, which I appreciate.
Right.
There's that, and then you get thrown into a situation of which is I would call the main storyline.
Right.
And if you can guess the events of what are going to happen throughout this film, one, I'm probably going to call you a liar. Two, it would impress the hell out of me if you were able to do that, because I didn't see any of these things coming. No. It's almost like he took these little tropes and dangled them, and he was like, nah, we're good with that. We're not doing that. And just had you go in this way or that way. And in like a fun way, though. It wasn't...
Yeah. What helps it, though, Mike, the movie's good as you're going along. If the movie dragged and was boring, you might have been able to think about some of this stuff. But because it's good and it's moving along and there's action all the time, and, I mean, some pretty disturbing action that...
the gore I thought was great.
Yeah, the murder weapon is brutal.
They did not hold back on the gore whatsoever, which I appreciated. And I know I've talked a ton about how when they show the monster, the movie's over usually. It just fucking poops it out. It's a letdown.
Right.
It was not the case for me in this film. I thought it was kind of crazy, creepy looking, just kind of over the top. But fucked up, basically, is what I can call it. It's just real fucked up is what it is. And if you're looking for original, I think we have it now. Not that this subject matter has not been addressed before in film. Not much, I will say, but I just think this one was done really well. And again, it's a hell of a ride. You
know what it is, Mike? Usually they show you the monster and it isn't as bad as what you had pictured. And when they do show, I think they show enough of the monster earlier that you kind of think it's going to be one way.
Mm-hmm.
And then it turns out to be what it is, and it totally screws you up.
Dude, there's one part. I can't even say it because I don't even want to screw it up, but it's fucking amazing. Just, it's really original, and I was really worrying the entire time when the monster was shown that it was just gonna be like, here's Darth Maul Part 2 and Insidious. It's gonna be shit, but it wasn't. I just never expected it, and just a lot of detail was put into it. Just the whole concept, I think.
Now, I will tell people that are streaming this, turn off all your lights in your room. Make sure you can see everything that's in the darkness, because there's a fair amount of Waldo vision going on in this thing, and you're going to want to see in those shadows that Mike was talking about earlier, because there's a couple scenes where you're looking, you're like, where is it? Where is it? Where is it? And if your black levels aren't good on your TV, you aren't going to see it. This is one I would highly recommend people go out into the theaters to see if they are, if you feel safe doing so. Because with an audience, this is a frickin' wow.
Yeah, I could definitely see that adding to the experience.
Oh, there was
100%.
popcorn. There was popcorn in the air. It was awesome. It was awesome. I usually try to sit so there's nobody in front of me, and this time I was a little further back, and I was getting a show. I had 2 shows to watch. It was awesome because we had us a screamer.
Oh, that's funny.
I'm glad to hear this is sounding like a very positive review, because I was afraid, because I really enjoyed this a lot. I thought this was
There
great.
were no real name actors in the film, which I think probably helped it. Nobody was really trying to. I mean, it was the female lead obviously was the main portion, but there was no one else really trying to grab at it or like, I'm the name of the thing. And it just felt like a lot of people that were totally committed to the project. You know what I mean? Like
I'm not sure I know who the protagonist of the film is. Looking back, I'm not really sure.
I don't know.
There's a
I
lot of discussion. This is one of those, I call this a parking lot movie, because you get outside and you're talking in the parking lot for an hour afterwards. Did you? This movie is so good, though, at showing instead of telling you. Like you say, there's no Morris the Explainer. It's just kind of, you learn the clues along with the characters. I watched this one, and I watched the Marvel one. Was it Shang-Chi and the 10 Rings?
Yeah.
That movie is almost entirely Morris the Explainer. It not only has Morris the Explainer, where they just sit and tell you the story, but they also have flashbacks to make sure that you understand what happened in the past. I'm like, are you kidding me? We are just going to be punching things, aren't we? Do we need this much of a story? What's going on? I have nothing really positive to say about that movie. Except for it's slightly better than Captain Marvel, and that's where it is on the whole list. But I was happy with my $12 for this one. Are you ready to grade, sir?
I am. I think.
Okay. Hitting the button. Okay. So, Mike, what do you grade Malignant?
I'm not sure if I've ever given this out. Maybe once, maybe twice, but I'm giving this an A+. I was thoroughly entertained by the film.
Wow. I think that might be the only time.
I recommend it to anybody that likes horror. I recommend it.
Is this it first for an A+, Mike?
It could be.
I think this is. There's no way. There's no way you gave a grade like that.
I don't think I ever have, because I used to review a bunch of shit movies, but no, this one is solid all the way through. Just his attention to detail is, I think, what really puts it over the edge. You can just tell that he's all in on his projects, and he definitely cares. So comes through on screen. So.
I'm gonna give it an A myself. I don't know that I'm giving it an A+ because I don't know how often I'm gonna go back to this thing. Because I wonder how much of enjoying the film is not knowing the trick.
Oh, I'm sure this is going to be a Sixth Sense type situation, but I'm okay with that because that initial ride was it was great, and that doesn't happen all the time. So, yeah, I stand by my A+.
Fantastic. Hey, and I want to say hi to Jeff. He just joined us in the chat room as well, and you might have turned him on to this. Now you know that Jeff is a scaredy pants coach. Should Jeff go see this?
Hey, Jeff.
I mean, I'm definitely going to say Jeff should go see it. But that might not be good advice.
Yeah, I'm going to say, Jeff, if you want to see this, lay down plastic on your furniture prior to the film. That just might be a good preventative measure. So, I'm a bad friend. Okay, so it is time for my movie, and my film, we're going to be doing something a little bit different. I'm actually doing 3 films in one. I am going to do the Fear Street Trilogy. Now, have any of you heard about this thing?
Yes, sir.
I'm not.
You have not? And Rich, have you heard about Fear Street?
Yes, I have. I watched all 3 of them.
Yeah, okay, great. For the uninitiated, Fear Street is a series of novels that R.L. Stine wrote. He was known for the Goosebump book series. But this is something he made for a older audience, is my understanding. The basic storyline, and this is 3 movies, so I'm trying to distill this into something that you can actually walk away with. There are 2 cities that came out of one city. There is Sunnyvale and there is Shadyside. Yeah, I think I got that right. Sunnyvale, everybody there seems to be rich and happy. Shadyside is the wrong side of the tracks, and horrible things happen, including tons and tons of murder. Lots and lots of murder. We're going to just be killing people all the time. And the basic storyline is kind of a mix of slasher films and supernatural elements, which I always felt slasher films are really kind of supernatural anyway, because slasher films usually you shoot the slasher and he gets right back up. You know, they're not normal, as opposed to just a serial killer. The way that the Fear Street movies are supposed to be seen is there are 3 of them. Yeah, let me bring down my visual aid. You're supposed to watch Fear Street Part 1 is 1994. Fear Street Part 2 is 1978. And Fear Street Part 3 is 1666. And I put the posters together here in this, and you'll see that they actually bleed into each other. The posters that they made. 3 films, Fear Street 1994, 78, and 1666. They're supposed to be watched in that sequence. 1994 kind of lays out what the whole situation is and the multiple slashers and how bad Sunnyvale is, Shady Side is compared to Sunnyvale. 1978, you kind of go back to one of the slashers in the past, which is kind of a summer camp slasher type of movie. And then comes 1666, where they go back to the beginning of everything and kind of explain the curse. And I'm not going to go into it too deeply. I don't want to give spoilers. This thing just came out. There's a lot of debate as to which of the movies is the best of all of them, and etc. I would say they're all pretty decent, but of the three, I think 1666 is markedly worse than the others. I prefer 1994 to 1978 by only a small margin, but it seems like the rest of the internet likes 1978 more. Rich, you had watched all three. What are your thoughts?
I liked 1984 best. I understand the slim margin part. They both were solid.
Yeah. But 1666, I honestly feel they could have taken all the 1666 out, and I'd be okay.
It was a good concept and attempt, and it definitely didn't ruin the trilogy for me. But yeah, it didn't hold up as well as the first two parts did for me.
It wasn't as successful as I think they had hoped. I do think after the 1666 gets played out, you're good again. But this is not a movie, by the way, that would benefit from somebody watching them in time order. That just wouldn't work. You have to watch them in the order that they intended. Or you'll really be confused and nothing will make any sense. But I enjoyed them. I think I did not know they were coming from R.L. Stine until I was 2 movies in. And that's when I noticed it in the credits. I'm like, what? And I looked it up and I went, oh my God, I knew nothing about it. And I'm not 100% sure if this is based on any of the novels themselves or just a basic concept. I do feel this is like a mashup of Scream elements and other more supernatural fare. I felt like they left a lot of stuff on the table. There was a little boy that was in a mask that seemed super creepy to me. And they didn't... I don't think they got that to pay off. I don't think that paid off entirely. That being said, I enjoyed it. I thought the acting and the production values were very good. It was real light on nudity. I don't think there was any nudity. It was a little light on gore, but when they did give you gore, it was really good and it was jarring because throughout it almost felt like it was a PG-13 horror movies, and then they threw in some elements where you went, what the hell? I mean, really over the top. So that was kind of cool. I just felt in the last movie, it kind of crawled up its own ass a little bit and started to think it was much more clever than what it was, because the first 2 movies were just freaking fun and they knew they were fun and they had fun. And I think in the last one, they tried to out clever themselves, and I'm like, no, just stay the course. You would have been okay, but they tried to be a little too clever, in my opinion. But Rich, what were your thoughts?
Pretty much the same as yours. The violence is an interesting point to bring up because we don't think of graphic violence with R.L. Stine, so that was a nice little surprise.
Yeah.
But it's not gratuitous, and it's well done. you may not want to let a little kid see it, but you're also not going to ruin a kid's mind like you would showing them something like, Hostel or whatever with that kind of violence.
I hear Collector. Some people don't really do well with. That's what I hear.
That would just be Jeff.
Yeah.
Do you remember when you thought that your kids could watch that movie, Rich? The Collector?
Yeah, that was awesome, and we made them watch it.
Yeah.
Mike, did you watch this? I think you had mentioned.
Yeah, no, I watched the whole 3 films, and I think I enjoyed the first one the most.
Okay.
The soundtrack was, I don't know, I hear a lot of people watch movies from like the 70s and 80s and be like, the soundtrack was awesome. That was like high school, and I understand that now. So
I actually liked the soundtrack in all of them. Except for, not 1666, though I do enjoy a good hoedown. But I thought that was interesting. I am a little bit older than you guys, so I connected more with 78. That was when I was in grade school. And I recognized those songs really easily. There is something about back when you actually listened to a radio and you waited for a song to come up. There's something that now to get any song you want, you just yell out the word Alexa, and all of a sudden you'll get whatever song you want. It's like too easy. So I really appreciate
a perfect cassette tape, and then the song would come on, but you'd miss the first few seconds, and you're like, "Damn it!"
Yes.
I gotta wait again.
In fact, the cassette recorder that he had, I think it was in the 78 episode. I looked it up. It was very close to the one that I had, my first cassette recorder. But I had a Panasonic, and I couldn't find the exact one. Otherwise, I was going to bring up a picture of it here. But it was a really crappy cassette recorder that I enjoyed.
Tim, the anticipation of a song that you mentioned kind of plays into the release of these movies, which I enjoyed which was they didn't just put all 3 out and you streamed them in a row, but you had to wait a couple weeks. And I missed that with movies and TV shows that you actually have to see things.
Well, I always point out, because all TV series now seem to be miniseries.
Yeah.
I just finished watching The Stand, the new version of that, and believe me, I will be reviewing that in an upcoming show. But
all right, Jorge, I say watch Squid Game on Netflix. Holy hell!
I don't know what that is. Never heard of it.
Look at it.
Oh boy. But I agree with you, Rich. There is something about waiting in between. Now, when I watched these, they were all released by the time I watched these. I have to admit, I waited between 94 and 78, like a week. I didn't wait at all. Between 78 and 66, I think it was the very next day I watched the next one. Because I'm like, okay, let's finish this up while I still remember everything. And I think I would have enjoyed it more had I waited a little bit. But I do like that it's a choice that people can decide if they're going to just sit down and watch a series. I just watched recently the series Dummy with Anna Kendrick, that we talked about earlier. Mm-hmm. And that's 10 episodes of less than 10 minutes apiece. And I couldn't see any reason to go back and forth. And what it ended up being was, like 100 minutes of me going, meh. I think had I waited in between, it would have been a little bit better. I guess I'm kind of moving away from binging to a good extent. I think you have to have at least a day between episodes or something. But,
I like binging, but it's nice every once in a while to go old school.
Yeah. Well, I remember Okay, yeah, old guy Tim. We should have a theme song for this every time I go old time.
It's the
talking.
Sanford and song.
I
Has
don't
to be
have that.
bluegrass.
I don't have that. We'll use this.
Fireball.
No. But anyway, I remember watching Shogun when it originally was released. That was the biggest miniseries of the time. I think this was late 70s. And I remember it was like on a Super Bowl Sunday where if you were out and about, nobody was on the streets. Nothing. Everybody was watching that thing at home. It was kind of like when Roots was out, the similar experience. Everybody was watching that show. And we just don't have shared experiences like that anymore. And it's kind of a shame, I think. Anyway,
Yeah.
I think we should probably wrap this up by giving it some grades. At first I was going to suggest, hey, this would be a great starter for a lot of people in horror. I think you actually would appreciate this more after having seen a number of slasher films first, so that you could kind of enjoy how they spun it in here. I think this is also the movie that Mike has been looking for, a good witch movie. I think this might be the one. I'm gonna give it a B plus. I really enjoyed it. I would give the B plus for both part 1 and part 2, and I'd probably give a straight B for part 3. Rich, what would you give it?
I think a B or a B plus is fair for this. It could have easily been an A if the third part had been a little bit stronger.
Yeah. Mike?
Totally agree. I would give that an average of a B across the board. The third one did drag it down, but all in all, I thought it was fun.
Yeah, it was a good time, and I think, folks, if you've got Netflix, take advantage of this. This is a lot of good entertainment that you can get out of this series, and I don't know that I'm going to be going back to this movie, but I'm not going to be avoiding it. Does that make sense? I feel like it's something that I'm going to check out from time to time. Okay, we are going to go now to our sponsor link here. We want to remind everybody that Horror Realm is coming in only 58 days. 58 days. Can you believe it? And that will be coming to us. I have to get this ready. 19th through the 21st. And you will want to check it out. If you'd like to check out Tracey de Leon, you can check her out at her website. Did everything crash? There we go. At TraceyDeLeon.com, and you can find out all about her at her website. And Otherworldlyculture.com. I don't even know if this is going to show anything recent because, yeah, we got some issues going on now, but we have some recent episodes of Dead on the Bases there, and it's all a good time. I am going to get the computer running again, but I don't think we're going to do another together closing because, well, I'm already going to be patching this together over the course of the evening. We want to thank everybody that took the time to come out. Unfortunately, a lot of technical difficulties tonight. The internet, for whatever reason, crashed and burned 3 times here tonight. After running all day long, no problem. This evening, nothing but hell on a cracker. So, do apologize for all of those issues, but I know I speak for the whole gang over at Otherworldly Culture. We want to thank you for tuning in. We'll have another show next week, Tuesday, here on this channel, and hopefully our internet will be up and operational. I know tomorrow I'm going to be making some wonderful phone calls to discuss that very subject with my provider. So hang in there, Pumpkin, until our next show. And remember, as Alfred Hitchcock once said, no terror in the bang, it is the anticipation in waiting. When you aim at horror, make sure you are dead on. See you next time. Otherworldlyculture.com.